Thank you very much for allowing me to present here the work that we've been doing at the Microfluidics Association. I'm also an employee of NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and as such, I have to present this disclaimer here. I'm not going to read it all, but basically the summary is that any name of a company or product doesn't mean that we are endorsing them. It's just to show as an example of what could be used. But all right, so with that, I'm going to start the presentation. So I would like to start here with showing a figure from a manuscript paper that we published a couple of years ago with some stakeholders, including the FDA, showing it because this is basically shows how it's been increasing the number of devices that have been sent to the FDA for approval that are microfluidic based, and when you look at the makeup of it, so you have that about 82% are for diagnostics and 18% are therapeutic. When we look then at this yellow chart or scheme, we can see that so this is a forecast for microfluidics overall of the market, and when you look at it, you can see that the top three have to do with the diagnostics for POC, for clinical, and for pharmaceutical and life sciences. So what I'm trying to get at with this is that within microfluidics and the people doing that kind of research not always see that the main applications have to do with biology, with that kind of thing, right? With bioengineering and the such. So I just want to give a bit of a perspective of what have been the standards that we have been working on, which is so far one, but we have a couple more things that are in the pipeline. So this is work from that has come out of the workshops that we had before, like from 2017 to 2019. There were 6 workshops, 2 in the US and 4 in Europe. And out of that and conversations that follow after 2019, because of COVID, we had to stop, but we still met and kept on discussing this. We got the first ISO microfluidics standard, which had to do with interoperability requirement for the dimensions, connections, and classification. And this is how if you go to the page, this is how it looks. There is a summary that you can read there. If you have access to it, you can get it. Otherwise, you have to pay for it. But it is actually there. So that is what has come out. But then we are also having a couple of things that are in the pipeline of ISO, and this is the ISO 10991, which has to do with terms, with the definitions, and it's at the ballot initiated part right now. And this also came from all the workshops that we were having. These are samples of the sheets that we had been working on during those workshops in the past. And the third thing, the third item that is in the pipeline of ISO is the ISO CVTS 6417, which has to do with the symbols and the specs of pumps, right? So we are working on that. This is going to be a TS, a technical specification, which is not a standard, but it could become a standard afterwards. If the good thing is that you can get a lot more comments in the meantime. So that is in the pipeline too. And this is again one of the sheets as they were coming out of the workshops things that the stakeholders that were during the workshops wanted to have there, thought about it, and put it in place. Now, the work has continued, so these are the things that are in the pipeline, but we're working on other things that are still not there because we have to talk a lot about it and discuss and go back and forth. So these are the 4 topics, the ones that you see here on the left side. Basically, the testing methods. We are talking about interconnection and intercompatibility, flow control, and assembly and modularity. So the specific work that we're doing within these 4 topics are the characterization of flow resistivity, and also there is some work not by the MFA but by NIST, and I'm just going to show one slide in a moment on measuring flow rate internally in the channel. The other work that has been going on is looking into methods for leakage testing. We're also working on specs for the pumps and components of the systems, and interfacing the sensors that are needed for all the work that is done. So I'm just going to mention 2 of the 4 topics here, and it's just to illustrate the kind of things that are looked into when we're trying to figure out what is going to go into a standard or a guideline, if we would like to start with that and then move forward. So this is for the connectors, the intercompatibility. So it's key basically for plug and play that we have a connector that would allow us to really do it in a very easy way. And these are, and there are many, so basically the group that is working with this, what it thought was that it would be better to just try to develop a standard one. Now there are a number of requirements. These are a list from that has been put up by the group. I'm not going to name them all, but I mean you can see you have to look into the pressure. What is the range for the temperatures? What is the range for the flow that they could hold on to, and so forth and so on. So that's an example. And this is a drawing 2 of phase 1 and phase 2 of what the group is really looking into and trying to get at. It's a simplified thing here, but what you have at the top is the component in the sensor or whatever is it that you're going to connect to the system. The adapter is the connector. So the main things that are being looked into right now for a standards are the size. The distance between the 2 holes that are going to connect them when you put them one with the other. And then there is also talking about what kind of way of sealing is going to be used. So this is an example, and then also now you have to know what is the tubing that you can connect to it and all that. So in phase 2, it's going to look more like a manifold, so you can put a series of components of the system, so that you can then have like a more whole system. In terms of flow control, these are schemes of setups that have been testing by labs in Europe. I don't have to go through it much, but basically you have a number of ways to measure the difference in pressure from the inlet to the outlet. And then you have to take into account, what is the maximum, the pressures you can actually measure as the maximum. You have to calibrate your flow sensor, the other sensor for pressure. So these are things that you have to take into account. I made the list a bit shorter here because it's just to illustrate. Now, this slide, and this is kind of an announcement of some of the things that we do at NIST. So there is a project who's working with measuring flow using optofluidic systems, where an optical waveguide is put next to the channel, and basically you have a solution with fluorophore that you can excite a plug, and then you can look at the flow rate by looking at the as the fluorophore basically bleaches, and there are different points where it's actually measured. And this is also used for flow cytometry right now. The other work is work done in my lab, and it's on surface acoustic waves. And basically we look at the changes in amplitude and shifts in frequencies when the surface acoustic waves interact with a solution, and how that basically changes with the change in flow. So now I'll try to move into how this somehow has to do with MPS, right? So I'm also the co-chair of a working group in the US, and we had a workshop a couple of months ago at Michigan State, and this was a table from one of the people who were there who basically present Carol from ATCC. She actually let me use it. I don't know if she's around, but thanks again. So this is a table that she brought up to say, okay, these are a number of things that I have to consider when I am going to build something from scratch, right? Let's say. So, so you see there are six columns here, but if we look at it more closely, we can start to see that there are matches with what we've been talking in the MFA about things that should be considered for standards. So we have flow control. I mean, you have to know with your cells what is your flow, what is the shear, if there's going to be some, you have to basically control that, and in order for you to do that, you have to know how your system physically and in its engineering basically do. In terms of the materials, right? You have the intercompatibility. You have to know if it's a stretchable material, if it compress, or if it doesn't. I mean, if it leaks or not, because you have two different ones that don't match. As you're putting them in place, and then you have the stimulus that it depends what is it that you're going to do. If it's electrical, you have to have some sort of component that would allow you to actually do that. And if you want the sensors, which is something that I think it is sought really now, by this field. So you have to look into that, into the modularity of it. So these are 3 out of the 4 things that we're talking in the MFA that has to do with MPS, and the main idea really is to see how what we are doing could be used to enable the standards in MPS that have to do mainly with the engineering part. So this is a part of a roadmap that the MFA is also working on, and we can see here how a couple of the topics that I just mentioned showed up. Like the flow control, leakage testing. So and also there are some other themes that are coming out that will maybe be very interesting for the future, like sterilization and talking more and working more with bodies like the FDA. Anyway, I just want to try to wrap this up and try to connect this in a way that it might be a bit more visible for you all. So the panel at the left shows the 4 topics that we are covering at the MFA, and the panel at the right basically shows how the things that are important in MPS go with each one of those, right? So we have in MPS, we really want to know what is the surface of the material for different reasons. We really want to have control over flow and know how it changes in a fast way or in a very slow way. I mean, we really need to know that. So we want also to look into the compatibility of the materials, pressure limits, again. So we want to know how we can connect things so we can have now the sensors that we want to put in. And we also need to know what are the applications and what is the kind of sensor that you actually need. So this is me trying to show to some extent what is it that is that are the wants and the needs in MPS, and then how that could maybe be used, maximized by using the things that we are doing at the MFA. And with that, I just want to finish with the summary. Basically, at the beginning of the talk, I showed you how the areas of market growth match with what is be seen at the FDA. The areas of standardization basically are compatible with the MPS needs and wants to some extent, and the standardization in MPS will likely require a path that is looking like the one that the MFA is following, but it might need to be, the guidance for it might need to do with the organ and application and the specific functionalities to be measured. And with that, I just want to thank the board members of the MFA. I just asked them to smile so I could take a picture. And also NIST on a Chip, which funds me to do this work on flow, and Sanders, the MFMET, and labs in the US and Europe who are making all these measurements. And with that, I would like to thank you all for being here at this time.
Thank you for that informative talk. Do we have any questions?
Okay, if not, I will start. So we know that the role of standards, for instance, in medical devices is also supporting regulatory use. So we know that they are used to, establish, demonstrate the performance of the device. Do you see a similar role for standards in MPS and regulatory use of the data that MPS generate?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mention some of the things that we're doing in the working group, but we have been talking about how, for example, it would be most likely good to have some sort of handle on knowing, what is the ratio of media versus surface area of the cells, so that you actually can make sure that what you're getting out of the cells is something that is really reasonable, that it's maybe physiologically as relevant as possible. So that is a physical measurement that needs to be done, and is some of the things that we're also talking then in the organ-on-a-chip working group.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your talk, and we can move on to the next speaker.